Hello and welcome to this week's Closing Bell. The main man, Murray Dawes, is back in town. The top dog's back from New South Wales and we've got lots to talk about. So if you saw the show last week, we were talking about lithium and there's been some big moves already. Of course, we have Donald Trump and his move on copper. And of course, we've also got what's going on with the general market. So Murray.
And the rare earths as well. There's lots of stuff happening, isn't there?
Good to be back.
Great to be back.
Beauty.
Except I had a week off, so I'm lying.
So tell us about lithium. So we flagged this last week as a potential, going into a period of accumulation, but there's been a bit of action, right?
Yeah, well, we were just pointing out that it was looking like it could be starting to base. It was in an area which I thought, it's in the buy zone, which I look for, a multi-year area where I've been waiting for the market to get down into this zone. And it's just seeing, what's going to happen around here? There were signs of life, and that's why we talked about it last week. I brought up, Liontown, PLS, Pilbara, and Mineral Resources. And, in the last week, Liontown, I think, is up. Liontown was up 13% in the last week. Mineral Resources up 8%, and PLS up about 5%. That's just in the last week. So there's obviously a bit of movement there. We've got all this stuff going on with the rare earths as well. We've got copper taking off like a rocket. So there is actually a lot going on as far as that strategic metals, what the US is actually starting to do to try to protect their supply chain.
You were telling me about a big deal that I didn't see the story. I missed it somehow. So tell us about that a little bit.
Well, so the US government is now the biggest shareholder in MP Materials, which is the big rare earths company. So there's Lynas. As far as the ex-China suppliers of rare earths,
they're in the US though, right?
There's MP Materials and there's Lynas, of course. So MP, the US government's just invested $400 million into them and become the largest shareholder. And the stock was up 50% last night. And now Lynas is actually up about 17% in the overnight market. So we've got copper prices breaking out to new all-time highs because everyone's trying to front-run
in the US.
In the US price, that is. People trying to front-run the tariffs. So you've got copper prices going through the roof. You've got the US government investing in rare earths companies to help manage the supply chain to make sure they can make it happen. So we're actually seeing concrete steps by the US government to protect their supply chain. And it looks like they're willing to withstand inflation, really getting into their economy, but to protect their supply chain. So because if you're making the price of copper 50% more expensive, and that feeds into everything, I mean, that's going to end up.
But is he going to do it?
Well, August. He said
he says that, but we never know with old.
Well, Trump. I don't know. I think I think the taco comment has pissed him off a bit, and I think it has, and I think he wants to prove to everyone that he follows through. But he said the other day he said August 1 is when the 50% tariff kicks in. So we're going to have a look at copper today as well.
Okay. So which one do you want to start with? Do you want to do any of the lithium? Or?
Yeah, well, we'll just show you what's happened in this last week.
And remember,
just in the three that we looked at.
I was going to say last week we had we mentioned that the chief of PLS, I think it's PLS now, not Pilbara. I think they changed their brand. Yeah. He bought $1 million worth of stock, and I read the other day that he actually bought higher up too. He's down 50% and thrown another $1 million in it. So at least he's got conviction in it.
Yeah. Well, and I read an article this week about the lithium from insiders saying that they still think it's going to be trouble. It's a bit oversupplied still.
Yeah.
There's still the price of lithium is still at the point where no one's making money.
Yeah.
So there's still the fear of things being mothballed and mines being shut. But there has been some upside movement in the lithium price in China. So there's maybe the hope, and what I read was it's gone from 600 to 660, but it needs to be up around 800 for people to feel comfortable that they can actually keep the doors open. So it's still very early days, but
and it is fascinating that this whole thing around the car industry, that China is coming for the global industry. They want to own the global market. So they're going after Ford and GM and all these type of guys, Tesla. So long term, if the lithium battery stays as a key component of that, it does feel like there's a big long term story there.
Oh, there still is that story, and as robotics and all that sort of thing takes over, and the stories are still there that lithium in the end could be massive. I think the reason the price of lithium is so weak is because China's deliberately, is deliberately keeping it down to try to scare off Western competition and keep their grip on it. And now America, you can see what they're doing is they're willing to take some pain to make sure their supply chain's okay. So in copper, we're willing to have the price high and feed through into inflation into all our other goods just to make sure that we have got the production happening in America and not relying on China so much. So it's a very interesting development. And just taking you through the stocks we talked about, this is the weekly. We were looking at this massive run. Here's the crash in Liontown. And, there's with Gina Reinhardt and the takeover, that sort of thing, the failure, down right into the bottom of the buy zone there.
So as I understand it, just as these guys went into production, the price crashed on them. So you sort of do feel for them a little bit. They go to all that trouble to build it.
Exactly. And they are definitely going through tough times. But if they can come through this and be one of the last, there's no mines going to be opened in the next few years, are they?
Let's cut that off.
This is in that area where I'm going, well, watch out. This could look quite interesting. And the trend is still down. So you're taking it on. If we look at the way the trend is moving, it's a clear downtrend that we've got going on here, right? So if we look at it from the point of view of the downtrend, there's your next low down. So really it's above here is where it can really start taking off, above $1. So it's just starting to look pretty interesting. It's already had one wave to the downside and found the buying support. The trend's up, and this was the move last week. So there's 13% in the week, and we actually told you about that last week before it took off. So that sort of looks like it's trying to prepare itself for a more serious breakout to the upside. So,
and this we'd say is, there have been a few acquisitions in the mining space and small caps in general and that type of thing. So it feels like the type of project that a big player could swallow it up with the long term in mind, like the very long term. But with the short term cash flows, can it keep going, or how much can it keep going?
Will it need to shut down for care and maintenance for a while? It depends. If the lithium price does fall over again over the next year, maybe they do need to do that. Who knows?
You need to be really clear with your game plan.
There is risk taking it on here. There's no doubt about it. And mineral resources, we know a lot of debt and that sort of thing, and iron ore, and that's what, $95, and this has been a hell of a drubbing that's happened in this one, 80. So and again, you're looking at these waves that I show you, the sort of the sell zone areas, the buy zone areas. We've had the crash through to the bottom of the range. Here it is starting to turn up, but it's still very early days, right? So if you're taking it on here, you are taking on risk. And, I'd be running away if it fell back to $10 or something like that. But you can see there's a major low there around $30. Like, that's interesting to me, of a potential false break of that. And then you're looking at a target back to that $50 as an initial sort of trade on thinking what could happen here. So it's certainly looking interesting. And on the monthly, that's up 8% in the last week too, after we've told you. And if I look at the monthly, you can see there, again, right to the bottom of the buy zone, and it needs to close the month above this sort of $25 region to confirm the monthly buy pivot. So again, it's still in long-term downtrend. You're still taking it on, but if you like the idea, if this is something that you missed out on this rally or you've been hurt by it, whatever it is, but this is sort of that second bite of the cherry where you could get on quite early. If we are to see a recovery, this is what you'd want to see developing, basically, the way it's moving now.
But we said this last week, but it doesn't just tee off lithium, that one. That's got iron ore and mining services.
Yeah, exactly. You've got other risks in there. And
potentially
I think a lot
other
of
upside.
Debt. And debt and that sort of thing, which you've got to be wary of. And again, the whole structure is just also similar, isn't it? Where you've got Pilbara has had that run. We've had the massive move to 550, and it's been difficult. A lot of people have been killed in this move, right? When it breaks back through that point of control of the wave, underneath there, right, every day it goes down, there is a hell of a lot of people who've bought it up here who are just hating it. And that's what can create that just steady, slow move down into the depths of despair. And that's where it takes it down into that buy zone area where it looks like it's all dead. And you can see here, we're heading towards possibly a monthly buy pivot out of there. So that's for the people who want to take on risk. That's beginning to look interesting. But I will say that you can often get that monthly buy pivot, and that can be just the first stage, and then it still does work. And that's why you've got to be willing to take it on and be prepared to put up with it, maybe going nowhere for 6 months.
I feel like it's
6 months before it's going to, because it'll often get people in early, and then it'll still do another wave down, and everyone will give up on it, and then it'll take off. But it's just giving the signs that I wanted to see in this area that, maybe we're through the worst of it. I can't even say the word worst.
Well, let's talk about copper. So Trumpy came out with the 50% tariff idea that drove up the futures exchange in the US, and then but it didn't follow through to the Aussie market because we're teeing off the London price, which is the ex-USA price, which didn't spike. So is London going to follow the US up, or does it go down? And what do you think is going to happen?
I think it's created a distortion that could be sending the wrong signal to us. So if we have a look at copper, I've been bullish on it, and I think I'm long-term bullish anyway on copper, and I've definitely set my members up in that situation. So if I just bring up copper here.
Because some miners obviously trade in the US, and they benefit from the higher price, but obviously if you're not getting that price, it doesn't make that much difference.
Well, because they're front-running the tariffs. So if the price is $5 and in August it's going to be $7.50 for you, what are you willing to pay to get stock in now? You're willing to pay more than $5, aren't you?
So they're building up their inventory, I think was the gist.
So you're going to be willing to pay $5.50 or $5.60 because you're thinking, well, it maybe it should only be at $4.50 or $5, but I'm willing to pay $5.50 now for people who can deliver to me right now rather than pay $7.50 in a month. So that's just logic, isn't it? You're going to front run. So all of the demand is getting front loaded. So this buying pressure that we've seen, which has made people think that copper is really strong, may not be actual strength. It may just be front loading demand.
Well, yeah, it's
a
distortion, as you said.
So what could happen is in August, the price could go like that because you've front loaded all the demand. It's now $7.50 for you to buy it. So you've got demand destruction anyway possibly because of that. And you're going to have to go through a lull before it then finds its proper level. So this is where I'm a bit fearful that maybe this is all hot air caused by this tariff. And even though long term I think it should take off, like remember they're supposed to into 2030 or more create an Escondida, which is the largest copper mine, every year to cope with the coming demand. It's not going to happen. So the demand profile worldwide for copper in the next decade is still massive. I still see copper taking off massively. But in the short term, this may just be a bit of a distortion because of Trump. So we may see something like this. The crash,
it would be fair to say,
and then finding some sort of base and turning up eventually. So that may be what we're about to see is everyone get a bit surprised by the weakness after August.
But it would be fair to say that probably wouldn't hurt the Aussie stocks that much because they're not rising with.
They're not rising on the back of it anyway. Yeah. So
they'll muddle along. Yeah. Unless it really tanks, but
yeah. So it's what's going on with the tariffs that is distorting things. And let's have a look at what's happening in this rare earths. It's the same thing. It's all about US supply chain, what they're willing to put up with to make sure that they're safe. And this is MP Materials, which is again the major US-based rare earths. And last night, the US government's come in and said we'll buy $400 million worth of stock or whatever at $30. And the stock has just catapulted higher, taken off. So that's led to a big move in all the rare earths, which I think is interesting. I mean,
I've got to say,
should Linus really take off?
Big moves everywhere. Bitcoin's up and about. I mean, it's...
Yeah, and here we go. There's Linus. Now, we're actually in this. We managed to get on. This is the monthly chart. We managed to get on sort of around this $8 and then bought some more around here just before it took off. So that's looking really good for my guys at the moment. There's, it's looking trending. There's a long-term uptrend and breaking above the most recent high in the downtrend. So if you're looking at these downtrends...
And I'm going off the top of my head here, but rare earths are not even that strong pricing at the moment, right? Like it's... The strategic nature of them is very strong, but the actual pricing is not quite what it was, if I remember.
Oh, yeah, terrible.
So there's much more upside if they start kicking in again, yeah.
Absolutely. And so that's maybe it's getting ahead of itself, but it's certainly trending and looking pretty good there. So I think we've just got to take what America's saying about what they want to do as far as their strategic metals and that sort of thing against China, that they're actually taking steps and they're even willing to harm themselves to make sure that they are going to be producing enough down the track of copper and et cetera, et cetera. So it is definitely a development that we've got to figure out how it affects us and which companies are going to, be helped by it.
There's so much happening. I just realised that we had the RBA surprise everybody by not cutting rates. There is so many little thematics going through the market at the moment, but definitely those critical minerals are where the action is. Gold sort of steam's come out a little bit of those stocks.
Yeah, and the market in general. I mean, I'll bring up the S&P and whatever now, and I've been going through this period of, I guess, where I have conflicting things going on, where my charts are all pointing up and saying great, but it's sort of at a point where I'm like, this is a bit dangerous. So the way I'd characterize the market at the moment is, if you're long, you've got to stay long because everything's pointing up. And we could actually be at the point of a melt up where it just goes up and up and up and up and everyone's scratching their head. Well, that's sort of the point we're at. But it also could have a false break of the old high and pretty much get smashed from here. So for me, it's like, if I'm long, I'm staying long. But is this the point where I'd be loading up on stocks? And this is what I want to show you, is that for me, I can't, I've got to be a bit wary because in the short term, it's so sort of overbought. After that, the market got absolutely hammered. So it all looks beautiful as far as the trend's concerned, and it's at a new all-time high. But as you know, I'm always wary of the false breaks of highs, where it just takes out the high and then turns back down. So this is where I'm just looking at it at the moment, and I've had a lot of conflict in all of my thoughts going, well, everything's trending up. I've got a monthly buy pivot there. It's broken out to new all-time highs. So really this is at the point where it can just do this. Because let's say something like this, right, where it's actually broken out and then it just trends, right? So it could actually be at that point where it's breaking out and it's just going to keep trending. So this is a point where you've got to be long and stay long. You're certainly not running away from your positions. But I just want you to note that also market can just break out above, look like it's away, and then get absolutely hammered. It can break out above, look like it's away, get everyone bullish, and then get absolutely hammered. So I'm always a bit wary when it just breaks out above the high. I think amateurs are the ones that often buy the breakout, and they can often live to regret it. So let's say back in 2001, there's the old high from 2001, went up there, nudged it, looked like it was breaking out, and that's actually where the crash began from. So this is where I see those double tops can often be, you've got to be pretty wary of them. So that's why for me, it's been a bit of a tricky market for me, but now I sort of figured out what my story is here, which really is, you've got to allow this to potentially take off like a rocket. But I tell you what, you wouldn't just, if you didn't have any position on, you'd be taking on huge risk to go and buy a lot of stocks right at this moment. So I just sort of want to see how it performs here. And if it does keep trending, then I'll be able to keep adding more positions.
I mean, for US stocks to keep on trending, they're going into. I mean, they're already richly valued as it is. So it just.
I'm looking at
my bias is against that outcome. But
well, me too. Me too. I've been looking at some US stocks lately, and I found one. Oh, what a beautiful chart! I brought it up. It's trading at a PE of 350, and it's a multi-billion-dollar stock.
Yeah.
So it's got billions of revenue.
You're paying a lot for it.
And it's making maybe $1 billion, and its market cap's $325 billion. And I'm like, well, I can't buy that.
Yeah.
And it'll probably keep trending.
We don't really have those crazy figures here in Australia.
No, there's some pretty crazy trends.
I mean, we don't have the same growth outlook for a lot of stuff either. But the US is a different beast altogether. So
isn't it
very interesting.
So it is. It's an interesting moment, and I'd love it to keep trending. You know, wouldn't this be nice if we finished the year with the S&P just doing this? Well, because there's no reason why it can't, because there's nothing stopping it. It's at all-time high. I mean, it would feel silly, but also as I said before, we saw this breakout and the market just went off like a rocket. We saw this breakout and the market went off like a rocket. We're in now, 2009, 16 years of this bull market. And maybe we just need the blow-off top
in theory,
before it's going to fail.
In theory, a big bull market should go into a blow-off top. It doesn't really feel like a blow-off top, but then maybe
it will if it does that.
Oh.
If it now just goes vertical, it'll feel like a blow-off top. So I'm sort of I'm in either camp, foot in either camp. I'm long, happy to stay long, but if it turns down rapidly and we have the false break of that high and I get a sell signal, I'll be a bit wary.
One final thing I thought I'd just add, I mentioned the RBA there, that they did surprise the market with not cutting rates. But it was interesting to me that it didn't really rattle the market, in the sense that I think the market is like, okay, they're going to go down eventually. They just sort of surprised us by not doing it this month, but it'll probably be next month kind of thing. So I still see the Aussie market as fairly resilient. So there's lots of opportunity. If you want to take a trade like Linus or whatever,
exactly.
It does feel like the market risk is not crazy at the moment, unless we get a real curveball.
And because we've had those crashes over the last few years, you are seeing those sort of setups which take years to take shape, like those things I showed you, Liontown, PLS and Min. Just think how long that took to set up that rally and then the crash and now the buy signal. That's actually taken like 5 years or more.
That's what I love about the share market, though, because you get these situations. You're like say with Liontown, they have literally found the deposit, financed it, built the mine, then the thing crashes on it, and you can walk in and it's there ready to go.
Yeah.
Now we don't know if it's going to work, but if lithium
but
recovers,
if in 5 years, just imagine in 5 or 10 years, if you look back and lithium's recovered, and you've managed to get in on the ground floor in a new project
with all the work done
nothing,
for you,
with
paid
all the
by
work
everybody
done,
else.
and you bought it when their margins were zero, and now they're making absolutely squillions.
Yeah,
I mean that's one of those.
But that's the beauty of the
trade
market,
of the decade.
Right?
Yeah,
that's with. They say that kind of dynamic forms all the time, but unless you subscribe to somebody like Fato, you often don't see that. Like you're not going to see that reported very often. All those different dynamics, and it's not just lithium. It was in gold like 12 months ago. Like. It's stuff comes up all the time. So, that's why we talk to you here at the Closing Bell.
That's it.
And that's why you should subscribe to Murray's service.
That is exactly right.
All right, buddy. Well, it's good to have you back in town, and we'll leave that discussion with you there. So keep watching lithium, see what happens with that. Obviously, Trumpy's always the wild card. We don't know what he's going to do, but strategic metals are looking good. My little stock, the tin one that we mentioned here on the Closing Bell, before April, I think, was going great guns and got smashed by Trump. But anyway, it's lifting off the floor, so keep an eye on MLX there, the little tin miner. Seems to be doing interesting things. And we'll be back next week with the latest news.
That's it. We'll just keep picking winners for him.
All right, buddy.
Excellent,
good to have you back.
See ya.
Had enough?
Make it easy on yourself, Dutch.
Okay.
Okay.
Never did know when to quit, huh?